And as the Trump campaign dukes it out in the courts, where, as Diane points out, judges have consistently rejected their claims of election fraud, the Trump administration is also blocking President-elect Biden's team from the money and access that federal law provides during a presidential transition. For that to begin, the administrator of the General Services Administration, that's a Trump appointee named Emily Murphy, she needs to formally recognize the president-elect, issuing a letter of ascertainment, as it's called. At this time, 5 days after news organizations, based on the vote counts reported by the states, declared that Joe Biden had the electoral votes to become president. That still hasn't happened. So joining us now to talk about how this could impact the transfer of power in this country, David Marchik. He's the director of the nonpartisan Center for Presidential Transition, which has studied this matter, plays a big role in it. David, first let me ask you, for people who have not paid attention to transitions, just give me a sense, what is it, and more important, how important is it to our country that this goes smoothly?
Thanks for having me. It's absolutely imperative. What history shows is that transitions are a time of vulnerability where our adversaries seek to take advantage of the United States. And this is perhaps the most important transition the United States will experience since 1932, when we were in the depth of the Great Depression. Today, we have 4 simultaneous crises: a health crisis, an economic crisis, a racial justice crisis, and a political crisis. And it's imperative for the outgoing to assist the incoming to have a smooth transition of power.
All right, that is not happening. As I say, it's the General Services Administration and Emily Murphy, who is the Trump official, the GSA official, who's assigned with ascertaining who won. So this is the GSA is a big agency in charge of keeping federal government functioning. It's the landlord. It finds the desks and everything else for these government buildings and does stuff like transition. So is what Emily Murphy doing normal? Does it surprise you?
You know, she's a person of goodwill. She's a procurement expert. I'm sure she's saying to herself, how the heck did I find myself in this situation? She went to the agency to help improve procurement and to help get cars and pencils and real estate to government employees all across the country. This act called ascertainment has never been politicized. It's always been granted within 24 hours of the outcome of an election being clear. There's only been one time since the history of the law where the ascertainment was delayed, and that was the year 2000. In that case, we had one state, 537 votes, determine the outcome of who was going to win. And so both Bush and Gore, neither of them claimed to be president-elect, and the outcome was unclear. So here the outcome, as former President Bush himself said, is clear, and it's critical that the ascertainment go forward.
So is this coming, this refusal to ascertain the election, to use the technical term, is this coming from the president himself? And as you point out, this is not usually a political act, right?
So there are a number of decisions that the government makes when one becomes president-elect. The Secret Service, for example, on Saturday significantly increased their security as if he was president-elect. There's a no-fly zone up of his house in Delaware. So there are lots of government decisions across the government that are affected when there's a new president, and this is one of them. It's never been politicized before.
All right, so we talked about what's at stake. So how is the Biden team having to do without? How much of an impact does it have on the Biden team, because he is going to take office in January?
Well, President-elect Biden probably comes to the job with more experience than any other individual in American history. There have been 59 presidential elections. He's probably got the most experience. He's also put together the best, largest, and most experienced transition team led by Ted Kaufman, Jeff Zients, Johannes Abraham, and others. They're ready. They're moving forward. He's calling foreign leaders. He's making appointments. He's rolled out his plans. He's rolled out his COVID task force. He can do a lot, but what he can't do is collaborate with the outgoing administration and with the experts in the government. I'll give you one example. We heard on Monday that there's just been an incredible breakthrough with Pfizer and the possibility of a COVID vaccine. The Department of Defense, the Health and Human Services Department, and other agencies are working on the development and distribution of the vaccine. all of us Americans, we want that vaccine to get out the door and into our arms as quickly as possible. It would be beneficial for the country, for the Biden team to be able to collaborate and coordinate with those officials so they're ready on January 20th.
Absolutely. That's crucial importance to the country. So several of Trump's allies have pointed, as you did, to the election of 2000. That transition was delayed while that court fight, which ended up in the Supreme Court, was underway. And they argue that it would be strange for Donald Trump to begin a transition while he's also fighting this in court. What do you say to that?
Well, I would refer to an op-ed that was written today by Andy Card and John Podesta. Andy was the incoming chief of staff for Governor Bush, President-elect Bush, and John was the outgoing chief of staff for President Clinton. They disagreed vehemently. They fought in that election. They both said in the Washington Post that this election is different, that 2020 is not the year 2000, and that the outcome of this election is clear and the transition should go forward. They basically said that 2000 was an entirely different factual circumstance than today, and the problems facing the country are extraordinary compared to 2000. So the transition needs to go forward.
All right, David Marchik, thanks for helping us so much with this subject of the transition.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.